Hi, and welcome everybody. Welcome back to the Health Bar. Do you know, I don't even know what episode it is. Maybe episode 22, maybe. I can't actually fully remember. But welcome. If you're watching, obviously, on YouTube, welcome. And obviously, Spotify. If you're listening on Spotify, welcome as well. If you don't know what we are and what we do, we are the Health Bar. We talk about mental health within gaming, the good and the bad. I want everyone to know that there is always a double side to each of this. So that's quite cool. Today we have LoonyAtUni on. That's a quick of a tongue tie, but yeah. So we have her on today, which is going to be amazing. And we actually found her through Twitter, and we've been talking. So it's going to be a really good episode today. I always start off, as always, by talking about my own mental health and my own mental health for the week. This week, really interestingly, it's been very up and down, and I had a real down spell about 2 days ago. And it's really interesting because we talk about social media on here a lot, and I've had 3 TikToks recently kind of blow up quite a bit, and it's the first time it's kind of really happened. But because it's gone that way, I've had lots of comments, and because of the comments, all of a sudden I'm getting good, but I'm also getting bad comments as well. But then also I think it was how I was taking them comments. So if I was in a bad mood or not a great mood to start off with, then comments, I was reading them kind of in a negative way. When I spoke to a friend of mine and he read them and was like, actually, I don't see them being that bad. So it's kind of really interesting. So that actually put me into a bit of a spiral a couple of days ago, which wasn't great. And then I actually didn't want to put any content out the next day. But again, speaking to people, and as if you've heard the show before, we always talk about speaking to people if you can. And so I talked to my other half, I talked to my friends on Discord, and kind of we chatted about it, and I feel a lot better about it now. But it is really interesting how comments and things like that can actually hit you, which is really bizarre because I've never had that before, that amount before. So it's quite an interesting topic for me anyway, that one. So that's a new one. So next we kind of go on to a bit of gaming news and mental health gaming news. This is actually on the BBC, which is amazing because it's actually mainstream. And it's BBC, and it is talking about gaming and the well-being. So the title is Gaming Time Has No Link with Levels of Well-Being. So kind of quite interesting because this whole story here is really interesting because it actually contradicts a study that was done in 2020. So it's kind of interesting, but they're saying that after people have played multiple hours and they've asked them the same questions, there's no one's any happier, sadder, angry, frustrated. They're kind of exactly the same as they were, which I'm not sure. If you've played like 10, 20 hours, there's always going to be something. I'll put the link anyway into the article because it is quite interesting, and there is a couple of sayings here that someone said, if you spend 24 hours a day playing, that's not good. But also as well, if you spend 24 hours a day eating or working out, that's not good either. So again, we always talk about this on the podcast, moderation. It really does need to be in moderation, and you know yourself, everyone is totally different. But I will put the link up anyway in the description, so you can obviously go and have a little read. And as I say, it's quite nice because it is mainstream. Even though the article's quite small, at least it's mainstreaming on the BBC, so it's always quite good. Cool. So without further ado, we're going to introduce, obviously, Loony. So as I mentioned before, Loony, I've kind of found her on Twitter. We started talking, and we had a good chat yesterday, and here we are today. So yeah, I'll let her introduce herself, and we can kind of go from there. So, welcome, Loony.
Hello.
How are we?
I'm doing good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well. Honestly, I massively appreciate you coming on. Like, I honestly really every guest that comes on, it is it's a huge kind of pleasure for me. So thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so obviously introduce yourself. Who are you? And if you stream, who are you and what do you do and what games you play? What's your story on gaming, I suppose?
So I'm LoonyAtUni. I'm a content creator. I mostly stream on Twitch. So I'm a Twitch affiliate, but I also do Let's Plays on YouTube. And I started doing a series of gaming related questions on TikTok as well. And I also love to post cosplay photos on Instagram. So I try to get
Amazing.
around on all of the little different bits there, but mostly I focus on Twitch because it's a place where I get to game and share that with like sort of like-minded people, so I can nerd out with other people. And it's like
Exactly. Yep.
this safe little corner of the internet where we've got just this like very nice, wholesome community, which I absolutely love.
Amazing. That's awesome. Perfect. So there's quite a lot, obviously, there. If you say you kind of do cosplay and gaming and streaming, and obviously quite a lot, which is quite cool. I always like to know gaming history. Like, how did you kind of start into gaming, and where did your passion kind of really kind of start kicking in? I suppose. What's your gaming story? I always love to hear.
Well, I think I've kind of been gaming pretty much all my life. I'll probably blame my older brother for that.
Yeah.
It started back in the days of like Commodore 64, so very, very
Hmm.
long time ago.
Nice.
Um, then we had like the Mega Drive, PlayStation, and I remember when the PlayStation 2 first came out, I remember it was on the top of my Christmas list, and I sort of begged my parents and Santa for a PS2, and my mom was like, "No, we're not going to get her a PS2. She'll never play it. She'll just
Yeah.
like play it a couple times, and never again." But I did get one, and I've pretty much never came off PlayStation. I'm a big
Amazing.
PlayStation girl, and it's I've never stopped. So I think what changed me from just like being sort of a casual gamer into like sort of like a gamer,
Yeah.
um, it was my brother actually. He used to get really scared playing horror games, so
Okay.
he used to always make me come and sit with him. And it was Resident Evil. He'd be like, "Come and watch me play," and then he'd get too scared to play them, so he'd be like, "You do it," and I just got so into it. So Resident Evil and Final Fantasy was around the same time as well. I
Yeah.
started on Final Fantasy 8, and I just loved the story so much, and it's like you can just kind of escape into a different world when you're gaming, and it's because I'm a big movie lover too, and I think like gaming's kind of like that, but like more interactive because you're controlling where the story goes and
Yeah.
stuff. So yeah, for me it's just like an escape from the real world sometimes that I love.
Amazing. Yeah. Do you know what you say that with movies? I'm a kind of a bit of a movie buff as well, and it is very similar. You can sit and just get lost into this movie, but yeah, I'm similar with games that, it's even like, as you said, with Resident Evil, it's so cool because it was never open world, but in my head, it always felt like it kind of was.
Yeah.
That you could kind of roam into the bushes and all that, and it wasn't the most set path. You could kind of go slightly, and I love that about that type of game. And again, you get lost in the main character, and you are then that main character, and yeah, especially like, as I say, Resident Evil and things like that. I was very similar. Actually spoke to, literally commented on this just before we came on live on the
Really?
podcast, and we were talking about obviously Resident Evil. When I lived abroad in Gran Canaria, and a friend of mine, we used to have literally play Resident Evil all the time. We'd have a cocktail, like a jug of cocktails, and and we would just sit there, we would drink and play Resident Evil like all day. Our day off. It used to be so much fun. So yeah, I definitely get you on that, losing yourself in that type of game. So, which is always interesting. Cool. So, mental health kind of side. Obviously, this is the main kind of part of the podcast. Why did you kind of want to come on the podcast? I suppose. Are you kind of, are you suffering yourself, or have you got friends that are suffering, or what's your kind of, I suppose, mental health story? I suppose.
I think for me, I kind of wanted to come on and talk about it because I think with streaming, it's been probably one of the best things for my mental health, and at the same time, like one of the worst things. Like
Yes.
it's like a double-edged sword for sure.
Yeah.
And I do struggle a lot with anxiety and depression.
Mhm.
Particularly, my anxiety can get quite bad.
Right. Okay.
And I think most content creators that I know are also the same. And I think it's something I've kind of tried to suppress and not show. And I still do that. But at the same time, I want to be more open about it because I think people. Like I'm always very happy and like positive on stream, and I think people look at me sometimes and they're just like, oh, she has this like perfect life, like why am I the one that's suffering alone and everyone else is happy? And it's I think it's important to know that just you're not alone, and there's a lot more people out there that feel the same,
Yeah.
even if you might not be able to see that.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. That is. yeah, that rings so true with everyone I've kind of spoke to on the podcast, and that includes obviously some of like the Twitch partners and YouTube partners. So we're talking big numbers, and and one of the guys that I spoke to, and it always rings in my head because even starting the podcast today, even though this is pre-recorded, I am so anxious hitting that start record button. And it's so bizarre because I know it's pre-recorded, so it shouldn't really matter. But oh my God, like my heart starts racing, and it's so bizarre, like really strange. And even like I have fidget toys that I play with like all the time, constantly, even when I'm doing podcasts and things like that, because again, it's such an anxious thing. And one of the Twitch partners, he said exactly the same. He said every single time he goes to record or go live, he's always anxious, always nervous. So I don't think it ever stops. It's just how you deal with it, I suppose.
Yeah, well, I've been streaming nearly 2 years,
Okay.
and I still get that. And back when I used to stream just directly from my PlayStation,
Hmm.
it was horrible because I just sit there for ages, like ready to go, but I just couldn't press like go live. I just sit there like, oh, I can't do it, I can't do it, and it would take me so much. Like it would take such a long time before I could finally go live.
Yeah.
Now I stream through the laptop, so I've got overlays and things. So I always have
Yeah.
this little starting screen. But I have this little ritual where I put my starting screen on and then I go off and make a cup of tea. And like I literally come away from a computer
Yeah.
altogether and I'll make my tea. And then usually by the time I get back, I've kind of like there's already people in chat and I'm
Yes.
just like, oh hi. And then straight away it kind of all just goes away because I've got people there.
Yeah.
But it's always that thought of like, what if nobody wants to talk to me? Like what if no one shows
Yeah.
up? What if people don't like me? And I have gone live before and like my loading screen started and I've had like panic attacks or like completely broke down in tears and like by the time I start
Yeah. Of
nobody knows that
course.
that's happened because
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh hi everyone,
Yeah.
but like I can be like, yeah, like it's funny sometimes, like yeah, it's funny how it just gets you sometimes.
It's
And
nice that you could obviously open up and say that because that is a big thing and it is very true. Like some
don't tell them that
I've had panic attacks before. Like I used to work in retail and have panic attacks in the shop in retail, and I'd have to take myself away, and no one would ever know. Like, I'd come back and I wouldn't be fine, but I would, I'd have to be, and and it's really important that, again, as you said at the very beginning, you're not alone. Like loads and loads of people go through this, and there are ways of obviously dealing with it, from mindfulness and fidget toys and therapy and medicines, and there's lots, and whichever route you go down, it's obviously everyone is so different. So no, it's nice that you can kind of say that out loud and kind of because I think it's important that people do need to hear these things, which is great. And we had someone on very, very recently, and she said she wants to stream, but her anxiety is so much that she can't. And that's really hard because she wants to, but then she goes through everything that you just said, as in you worry about no one's going to be there. And again, I spoke to a very good friend of mine, like last night we were just playing some games, chilling, and he said exactly the same. He said, yeah, of course, we always do. We always worry that there's no one in the chat. But it's that thing sometimes, if I've got no one in my chat when I go live, it's that thing of I just start rambling. I talk about my day, and then if anyone comes in, great, or if anyone doesn't, no, it doesn't matter, but I just ramble. And it kind of gets me through it.
Yeah, I think that's important as well because if anybody does come in, they're not going to want to see someone who's literally just sitting there and not saying anything.
Yeah.
If you're talking away and then people come into a conversation, they're going to be like, oh, and wanting to speak, and then that's how you know people are there. So.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, because sometimes your numbers could say that there's 10 people there, but no, there's some people that don't want to chat, or don't want to talk, or people love to lurk in streams all the time, So, you're definitely right with that.
I think that would make me more scared. If luckily I don't look at like my view account, and I think if I had a lot of people in, I think I'd start to get anxious. And if I had people in there and nobody was talking to me, I'd start to really freak myself out because I'd be like, oh, why does nobody want to talk? Like it's silly, like how your brain works, but I'd be like, why do people not want to talk to me? Like, and it just Yeah, but I am quite lucky. I do have like a good group of people that there's usually like, but as I say, by the time I've come back with my cup of tea, which
Yeah,
cups of tea always make me feel a bit better as well. They're my sort of calm me down. But
that's good.
I'm so British.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah,
But yeah, there's usually people in there, and I'm quite lucky in that regard. So then, as soon as I've got someone to talk to, I'm absolutely fine. But
yeah,
it's still that worry every single time. Like, what if?
of course, definitely. Outside of gaming, do you kind of like struggle outside of gaming, as in with anxiety and depression as well? And how do you deal with that when you're not gaming and you know how do you deal with that?
I think gaming for me, especially streaming, that is kind of my best escape from feeling like that. Like I'm quite terrible, as I say. I'm not very good at talking about things when things are wrong,
Yeah,
and I'm trying to get better at that. And that's one of the reasons, like, I thought this would be a good idea to do as
yeah,
well.
of
As
course.
thank you.
Yeah,
um, but yeah, I either kind of just retreat and sort of go into this little hole and don't really try and talk to anybody,
yep,
or I do try and like push myself to stream and things, because once I start, like, I can, like, people always say, and I think this is the nicest comment I can have, is like when people say, you just made my day. Like, I was feeling really down and now I've come into your stream and now I feel like a lot happier. That's like, that makes
that's
me feel like
amazing. Yeah,
that what I'm doing is like worth it.
yeah,
um so it's an escape for them, so I always try to be happy, I always try to be positive for them. And and it kind of rubs off on me, so even if I'm not having the best day, I'll sort of pretend I'm having a good time,
yeah,
and I'll
yeah,
start to have a great time because I've got all these lovely people coming in, and it does make me feel better. So it's an escape for them, but it's also an escape for me.
yeah,
um so I think, and I know we did touch on this before doing this, but it said about like, with COVID, I think that really played havoc on my anxiety. Like, I wasn't as bad as I am now before that.
yeah,
Um, and I think, like, without having streaming, I think I would have really struggled, with the social aspect of
yeah,
being in lockdown and not
100%.
being able to see people. So having like a community, it felt like I still had friends around me all the time, which was great.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
that's
yeah,
so
it's
true.
really
Yeah,
good.
yeah, we did say that. We mentioned that we were talking about that last night, and it's so true. And I think I am very similar. If I didn't have streaming and I didn't have like Discord friends and all that, I think I would have been in a very, very bad place. I truly believe that. And, it was kind of in the strangest way as well. It was kind of lucky because I threw myself into streaming when COVID happened because I was on furlough, so I didn't have to go to work. I was then kind of at home all day, doing nothing. Mixer, I was a streamer on Mixer beforehand, and Mixer obviously died, and
Yeah,
we all had to jump ship. And so obviously I jumped over to. I was never going to go Facebook. I jumped over to Twitch, and it was that kind of whole grind of right. I'm doing this, and I'm streaming 5 days a week, and I really went into it massively, and it was brilliant. But I still kept myself as in I am not doing any more than 4 to 5 hours a day. That's it.
yeah,
So then I can still have time with the other half and the dog and etc. And and we touched on this earlier last night as well. I'm quite regimented, so I kind of like to have, and that goes into my personal life as well, not just my streaming life.
yeah,
I like to say, right, I am going to be on at this time every week. I'm going to be at this time because then I kind of have got. Otherwise, I start doing things that I kind of don't want to do, and then I don't ever finish anything.
yeah,
And it helps really a lot with my personal life because, and I bring this up every single week. My little un is the best thing, and being a stay-at-home dad is the best thing for me for my mental health because I have to go out with him, take him to the classes, go out to the park, go to the like the supermarkets, go to like the shopping centres, go to the coffee shop, whatever. I have to go out with him. Have to. He can't stay in all days. So for me, that is amazing because I am then forced to go outside.
yeah,
Which it was just always so weird saying that. And people that don't ever suffer, like it sometimes is very difficult to get outside, just to
yeah,
open the front door, just to, it's the same with that whole when you're going through that really bad stage and can't get out of bed,
Yeah.
can't get in the shower, that the whole thing. It's that, but on not as bad, but it's still bad. Not wanting to go out, which is
Yeah.
you know.
No, I get that. I've had like again with COVID, like when things started to open back up, I've had a panic attack in the supermarket because it's just getting back into it. It
Yeah,
was hard.
yeah,
I'm quite lucky because my business is dog walking, so I'm out. So
amazing.
walking helps me a lot, and being
Yes,
outside does help de-stress my mind. So
yeah,
that's something I do when I'm not gaming. But yeah, going out with all the dogs, it definitely
yeah.
that's good for me.
But
And I have to
they say
sometimes
that
do.
anyway, don't they? With activity, like being like healthy and active, and like gyms and walks and hikes, and is always good for your mental health. And again, it's a
Mm.
very hard thing to kind of go and do, or
Yeah,
start that first step. But as you say, if it's your business, you have to do it. But it's also really good for you. So
yeah.
it kind of works both ways. That it's your job, but also it's great for
And they
your
do
mental
say
health.
like stroking a dog or an animal like is meant to like lower your blood pressure or something as
Yep,
well. So
it's certainly, and I
yeah, it's
think I think
definitely
dogs know as well. I
oh
th-
they yeah.
yeah, definitely. I think
My
they
little
do.
shadow's right
Oh,
next to me.
really? Oh,
Yeah, they're
bless.
always next to me. Play it too.
Oh, bless them. But yeah, I feel the same. Like with my dog, very similar. Like sometimes if she just jumps up on the sofa, like if I'm having a bad day, again I do. I think they know. I think they can feel it or sense it or do something because all of a sudden they're a little bit more clingy or a little bit more something. And you are right. And I do. I think it then de-stresses you a little bit more because you're just a little bit more on the mellow side, I suppose,
Yeah.
which is quite
Yeah.
nice. Which is quite
Oh yeah. I don't know what I'd do without my dogs. I'm a crazy dog lady. So.
nice. I think you have to be a little bit to have a dog walking business. I think you have to. So with obviously anxiety, depression, have you ever gone down any of the routes of therapy and like medication, and also as well when it's obviously very personal, but when do you feel that it actually came on, and was there a reason why any of it came on?
I think yeah, I do know when it first started. It was a job I used to have. I'd got promoted, and it was like a job with one that I didn't really know. I'd worked in admin before, and then
Hmm.
suddenly they wanted me to be a development officer where I was going out to houses,
Okay,
housing developments, and basically telling the site managers what I wanted them to do for our houses to build.
right,
And I
okay,
didn't. I was a film student. I didn't have a housing background, so they had a lot of faith in me, and it was a lot of pressure. And at the same time, my grandma got very ill,
right,
and also I'd started to get like these symptoms, and it turned out I had multiple sclerosis, but it just all started, and I think it
right,
was triggered
okay,
by stress,
yeah,
and I just think it was a lot to take on all at the same time.
yeah, 100%.
Um, and things, yeah, so that was 2014. Things started to sort of go down that hill, and then I think it's just hard to, I think once you start that sort of it's hard to shake,
Yep,
and yeah, it's kind of lingered. And obviously anytime I have any stress, like my multiple sclerosis like will flare up,
of course, yeah,
and I think that then triggers me getting more anxious because I'm like, oh, so it's
yes,
kind of a big, and it took a long time to get diagnosed. So there was all that going on as well,
yeah,
and things. So yeah, I'd
yeah.
say that's probably what started, and it's also why I ended up because I got promoted again after that to be senior
Oh
project
wow,
manager,
okay.
and I ended up having to be in charge of everybody doing it, and it got a little bit much. That's why I was just like, "Do you know what? I'm just gonna be a dog walker."
Yeah,
It's not the same money, but it's definitely makes me I'm a lot less stressed, and it's something that makes me happy. And then obviously it gives me that time to do gaming on the side, and that was
yes,
something like I didn't really sort of know about streaming. I was just like to find out that there was a place where you could actually. I remember it being a South Park episode where like they were
yeah,
watching streams, and I was just like, who would watch someone else game? Like it's so bizarre. And then I started doing it. I was just like, this is brilliant. Like I've got people that are actually into the same things as me,
yeah.
and like don't just be like you're a nerd or whatever. And like I think I touched on I used to love doing cosplay, and it was a big hobby
Yes,
for me. But like I didn't really have anyone in sort of the same mindset, and people did used to just make me feel kind of like I was a weirdo. They'd be like, "But why'd you do it?" Because I'd like post pictures and stuff, and obviously like I didn't expect people to necessarily like them, but it was when people would just comment, be like, "Why?" And
yeah.
I'm just like, "Oh, it's a hobby. I enjoy it,
Yeah,
and
why
it's
not? Is the yeah,
yeah." So I completely stopped doing it for like quite a few years. I didn't do any cosplays anymore because I just felt like people thought I was like
Yeah.
silly for doing them. And then when I started like streaming and like finding people that like games and people that like the characters that I was doing, like it just kind of goes hand in hand a little bit. And I could do a cosplay and people are like, oh, that's really cool. And I'm just like, yeah.
Yes.
And it's completely like reignited my love for doing that again.
That's
And that's really
amazing.
nice that it's kind of given me an outlet to
Yeah.
sort of geek out with people over as well. Because I know like my family very much look down on the fact that I game and stuff. And I think there's also that age thing where like people are like, well, aren't you too old to game? And aren't you
Yeah.
too old to be playing dress up and things like that. So it's really given me like an outlet to have that. So I think that side of things does help with my
Yes.
mental health as well.
That's really
But then,
good.
as I say, on the opposite side, is that like I think when you're in the public eye, obviously it gets a bit more like people can be kind of trolley or they can, you kind of out there so people can pick on you a little bit,
Yeah.
which they wouldn't necessarily do. So there is that side of it. And I've been very lucky mostly for that. I've got like good people around me that don't sort of let nasty people into my chat and things.
Yeah.
But I've also had like a stalker recently, which
Oh,
got quite
jeez.
scary, like an online stalker. So obviously that caused a lot of
My
anxiety, and
God, yeah.
and I think it can be hard as well because like I make friends, and to me they can be like to me like people are like, oh, they're not real friends, they're online, and I'm like, no, they
They're
are my real friends
friends. Yeah.
for sure. But then there are some that think are your friends and then they just disappear. And it's
Yeah.
hard, like, 'cause I'm not used to that in real life. So there is that side of it as well, as when you lose people, it like, or
Yeah.
like someone ghosts you. It's not something I'm used to, and
Yeah.
it's very hard to let go of someone that you think's a really close friend and then they've just
Just
gone.
vanish. Yeah. Exactly. I
Yeah.
agree massively. And, as I mentioned right at the very beginning of the podcast, that, with the TikToks and the comments, and I was just like, it's so weird because, and it's because the TikToks are going well, which is supposed to be a good thing, that
Yeah.
you're getting more comments, but then you're going to be getting
More
more
trolls.
negative comments and trolls, exactly. And I'm just like, and honestly, it's the first time I've really had to deal with it, and it's very bizarre for me, like really strange, because I stream very similar to you, is for the whole reason is it's my therapy, not even the gaming, like this bit here, this us just chatting,
Panic.
like chatting to people in Discord. If I'm in a game and someone comes in, I haven't seen them for ages, or even just stop playing and stand in the middle of a field, like where I'm going to get killed or something. But I'll be like, oh my God, like, how have you been? And,
Yeah.
because for me, it's that interaction. And it's really interesting you saying that people say, they aren't friends. And because my family, they understand now. They never did. Some of them still don't really understand, but they're getting there. They kind of get it. But not next year, the year after. I'm going to someone's wedding that I met online,
Yeah.
that we were chatting to, and we've got our own Discord server together. We're like, he's part of the It's Only Pixels like Discord crew, and yeah, and we're going to his wedding. And a few weeks back, just before TwitchCon, because I couldn't go to TwitchCon, I met up with a couple of other guys that are in the Discord as well. We met up with them in Edinburgh, and all of a sudden it's these. They were always friends, but it's just, I love it. It's so amazing that we can build friendships
100%. Yeah.
with not even physically meeting someone. It's so strange, but I love it.
Well, yes, funny about you saying about the wedding. I was asked by two of the girls I've met through Twitch to
Yeah.
be their bridesmaids at their
Oh
wedding.
my God, that's amazing.
Well, COVID happened, so
Oh no.
unfortunately one of the weddings was in and I couldn't go because it was in America and the other one's in Canada.
But that's the whole thing, isn't it? Like you've got these people that they are friends. That there's no other thing about it. They are friends.
You hear my dog?
I didn't hear. No, I saw you
Oh,
look
okay.
around.
I'll be all right then. I was gonna say it's because my one dog's blocking him from getting to me, so he's
Oh,
crying.
oh,
So if you can hear it, I'll push them along a little bit.
How many dogs you got? 2?
I have 3.
3. Wow.
Yeah, but my 2 boys are very clingy and they're always next to me when I'm gaming and things. My little girl should be asleep upstairs
Oh,
probably.
bless.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so cute. But yeah, so it is very kind of it is very bizarre how these kind of friendships kind of work and happen. And but again, as you mentioned before, I think it was such a big thing over COVID that there were so many people that didn't have an outlet or didn't have, people got into Zoom, didn't they, doing Zoom calls with their like friends and all that. But we've been doing it for years on Discord, and so it's quite funny that their technologies had to kind of go, grow up that way, and we've already had it. We've had it for ages.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it was definitely a good coping mechanism to have.
Yeah.
Like an extra group of people around you that you couldn't have before.
Yeah. And so with obviously cosplay, do you do that on stream as well, or is it just?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Amazing.
But I'll try and tie it into like a game I'm doing. So if I did like I was playing through the hardest version of Resident Evil Village, so I did like a Lady Dimitrescu cosplay.
My God,
did like
amazing.
a community channel redemption that people had to sort of save for.
Yeah.
Or like I've done Claire Redfield, or like I do a lot of Dead by Daylight characters because that's like my addiction game. And yeah, so I do try and sort of theme it in usually to a game that I'm playing.
That's brilliant.
And
do you go to like the Comic Cons and stuff like that, or?
I haven't since before COVID, but
Okay.
I have done that. I would like to do that again, definitely. And if I go, I'm 100% going in cosplay because that's what I do. But
yes, it's weird, isn't it? Because we chatted about this last night, and locally here in Glasgow, they did a Comic Con last summer, I believe it was. Can't even remember now. Near the end of last year, maybe end of last summer.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. It was one of my first ones, kind of, that I'd gone to, and I would say 80% were cosplay, and it was amazing to see. Like, it was so good. But then I did mention to you, it's like there were a lot of people there, and they looked like they were in their element, and they were so happy, and it was just, it made me happy that these people were happy, like, because they could, as you say, they could go somewhere where it was accepted, or or kind of not frowned upon, or not whatever. But then as we all came outside, and I said to you yesterday, all these people were putting on like hoodies and jackets and taking their makeup off before leaving, and I'm like, that's really sad that people have to feel that they have to do that, like in case they get commented on the street, or in case they get, and that's really sad because Comic-Cons don't happen all the time. So these people must only feel safe, online, or in photos on Instagram, or then just at this, and I find that really sad.
It is sad, and I can understand the feeling, because it is that like where you kind of get looked at as if like you're the weirdo for like dressing up, and it's not nice to kind of feel like you're being looked at like that. So I do get why they have to do that, but it's a shame, because obviously, as you say, like they're having the best time and they're loving it, and it's like, oh, quickly hide. We've got to go out in public now. So
yeah, exactly, it is sad. And that's another thing, and that's what I kind of, when you obviously mentioned about cosplay, I was actually quite excited that we could actually get this over on the podcast, because you're the first person that's obviously mentioned about it. So that's
I should have done cosplay.
Yeah, you should have, right?
You'd be like, whoa,
damn it. We always try, and though, like, the whole idea of this is I'm always going to get people back on, like, a few months down the line, of kind of how people are feeling now, and where they are now, and etc. So again, if you are interested in that, like, further down the line, then yes, cosplay, yes please.
I won't look anything like me next time.
We've got Loony on. It was like, no, that's not Loony. 100% that's not. Did it take you a long time then to do it, I guess?
It depends. I think it depends on what kind of look I'm going for. Like I did like one of the daughters from Resident Evil as well, and they've obviously got like the drawing, and I wasn't even quite sure what the drawing was, so I was just kind of ad-libbing my own little picture on my head and like covering myself in blood. So obviously things like that will take longer, but a lot of them, I'm not like the best when it comes to things like makeup and that, so I just kind of just do what I can do. But I mean I really enjoy doing them, and people, it's nice when people go, oh, you're this person.
That's cool.
That always like makes me feel good, like when people just know who I am. So
that's really, I like that when I watch, again, it's random, isn't it? Some things you watch on YouTube and stuff like that, but I love all that kind of like makeup tutorial stuff. Very random, I know, but like, and the same with the cosplay stuff, where how they start from just nothing to then all of a sudden, at the moment on TikTok, it's really weird. People are just doing, do you know the band, the Gorillas?
Yes.
Loads of people, and I don't know why. It's probably because I've watched one video and the algorithm's gone, going to give you all everything now. But loads of people are dressing up and doing cosplay as them, so they're
Oh, I
actually
didn't see that.
physically making themselves look like a drawn cartoon, and it's amazing. Like
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my god, you people are phenomenal. Like it's so cool, and I'm like, I wish I could do stuff like that. I
Yeah.
really
I've tried to
do.
do some Borderlands one, and then like you try and do the like
Yes.
drawing on yourself. But yeah, I'm not. I definitely can't pull it off very well.
That's good. It's good that you enjoy it. That's the main thing. I always say that's the main thing. So obviously games. You said obviously Dead by Daylight is your main thing, and is it mainly horror games that you're kind of into?
Yeah, I love my horror games and I love my RPGs. So like basically anything with a story is
Yeah,
kind of what I love. I just love getting lost in it and as I say, like kind of escaping and especially like where the ones like where you choose your own sort of path,
yeah,
like the Telltale games or Life is Strange and like
yeah,
Detroit, things like that.
yeah. Detroit was like actually amazing. Like I
Yeah.
never finished it, so I can't, which is kind of frustrating. Because I think it was on PlayStation Plus or something, and then I was playing it, and then I was like, I'm gonna buy a PC, and then that was it. So I never ever kind of finished it. But them games are you are right. And if for people that don't know on the podcast and you're listening in, like these games are, yeah, you get to choose. You get to choose, like, you know, if you want to go left, you go left. You want to go right, you go right. And if you want to talk to that person, you can. If you don't, you go talk to someone else. And it opens up different kind of storylines, and then later on, like, you know, you can always go back and then change the direction you did. So you can then obviously look at all of it again. But yeah, it's amazing. Actually amazing, them games.
Yeah, that's the sort of thing I'm really into and I love getting jump scared. So
Oh,
anything,
really?
yeah. I don't know why, I just love it. So yeah, anything horror as well I do tend to love.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So yeah, kind of.
Maybe
You,
that's a bit weird for my anxiety, but
yeah, true. Yeah, constantly getting jumped. Yeah, 100%. But um, so going back to kind of anxiety wise, how do you deal with it? Like, I know you say you game, and obviously you've got the dog walking. Like, and you said you mentioned and you have panic attacks. Like, for me, I kind of when I was, especially when I was working in retail, my sister, she gave me like little wooden coins, and on them it would say like name like or yeah, name 5 items you can see. So then I'd look around, and then I'd obviously name them in my head, and so like a distraction kind of technique. And fidget spinners and all that stuff for me, like poppers and all that, they're brilliant for me. Yourself, have you got anything that you do, or is it just you kind of have a cup of tea?
cup of tea is like definitely one of them. One thing I didn't know is I could probably do with some fidget spinners because one thing I do play with my fingers a lot,
Yeah,
and it's something I actually didn't even know that I did until quite recently. And I was out with some friends for some dinner, and they were just like asking me how I was, and I think I was kind of opening up a little bit.
yeah,
And as I was just talking, they just like suddenly grabbed my hands, like held both my hands, and were just like, "You're all right." And I was just like, "What?" And they were just like because he said, "Oh, my girlfriend always does that. Like when she's anxious, she'll start like
yep,
sort of fiddling and sort of going like scratching her arm or whatever." And I didn't even know I did that. And now I'm kind of a lot more conscious of it. So yeah, maybe having some. I think having my like controller in my hand
yes,
helps. Um,
definitely.
but I have had like sometimes when I get very stressed, it triggers this symptom I get of my MS, and it's called an MS hug, and it's basically as if someone's putting a rope around my chest and just pulling tighter and tighter and tighter,
Oh
and
my
it gets very
god.
hard to breathe, and it can be very painful. So what I have started doing with that is I do look up YouTube videos for like breathing techniques and
Yep.
for like trying to open up your chest, and it helps a little bit. It's still like it's a lot of pain still, like it's
Yeah.
hard to just get rid of that. But I do think sort of I'm trying to get into like breathing techniques and like how to calm down
Yeah.
a little bit in that respect. I know people talk about meditation and things. It's not something I've really been able to get into, but
Yeah.
yeah, sort of the breathing exercises certainly do seem to help a bit.
I've never heard of that. MS hug. That sounds just scary.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
When I get it, sometimes it can be so bad. Like I'll actually keep feeling my ribs because it feels like as if my rib cage has collapsed. It's such a bizarre feeling.
Oh,
I just have to
that's
weigh it out.
yeah. I think it's quite interesting. So I when I was one of them. I wanted to try everything to try and help me out when I was going through. And my other half, amazing. Like she literally would like research everything, and so would my sister. And it was so good. But then it was kind of overwhelming as well, because they'd be like, "Have you tried this? Have you tried this? Have you tried this?" And I'm like, "Okay, just chill. I've got I'm like literally I had like a proper breakdown." So like trying to come back out of that, and then having like depression and anxiety and then panic attacks and everything is, it's pretty. But meditation, I found I can't do it. I will sit there, and it's the same with mindfulness. And I know people say it's fine, your mind can wander. Mine is like 10 times worse than anyone else's. Like my mind is I don't like using the word, but it's crazy. Like I have so much going on in there all the time
I'm
that
the
I
same,
can't
yeah.
do it. I get
Are
so
you not a
frustrated.
Gemini by any chance?
What's that?
Are you a Gemini?
No, Virgo.
No. Oh, okay.
Sorry.
'Cause, yeah, I was gonna say my head is like exactly the same. I'm just like it'll flash from like one thing to the next, and it's so busy.
Yeah, yeah, it is really, and that's kind of when I started. I started writing down a lot of things. I actually started drawing, and
Okay.
I started drawing like daily diaries. So like, as in, kind of, I would like sketch out and draw like, Monday, the word Monday, and then underneath it, I'd like put like draw the things that I'd done. So if I actually, got out of bed, I'd draw a bed with a tick next to it, and if I showered, like that type of thing. And because that was kind of trying to get stuff off my head, like out of my mind and onto a bit of paper. And then my other half was really good because I always, and I'll still do it now, I always feel like I've got everything to do. I feel like I've got no time, and I've got so much to do. And then she'll sit down with me and go, "Right, what have you got to do?" And I'm like, "Oh, just loads." She goes, let's write it down." And we write it down, and then all of a sudden it's like, actually that's not a lot, and it's doable.
It's more manageable,
You
yeah.
know, which I find really interesting. And so I'm still on medication. So I take medication, and I did do therapy, but therapy was amazing to get me to start to talk. But
Yeah.
then it kind of didn't. For me, it didn't help any more than that. I know some people, it's been the best thing in the world, and it was great for me to start talking, but not kind of carry on. It was
Yeah,
the thing.
I've not really gone to seek out like professional help, which I probably should at times, but I get so worried that they'll think I'm just like wasting their time or something. I'm sure you'll have gone through
Yep,
that feeling before you started. And
100%. It's a really common thing, and I think every single person I've had on the podcast would say said the same thing. They, and it is. It's one of them, and then it's kind of a thing that I know that the people I'm talking to are really having problems or have had real problems, because we're the ones that have got to be forced to do stuff, to be forced to be signed off work, because I don't want to. When it first all happened, I didn't want to deal with it. It was, again, it was a very male thing for me as well. It was like, nothing's wrong with me, I'm fine, and that's how it all built up, and it just a massive crash. It was horrendous. So, yeah. But then again, it was that thing. As soon as I went to there was no other thing I could have done. I had to go to the doctors, like had to, and I always remember to this day, like literally sitting in the car waiting for my appointment, like just feeling like shaking, like again I had a panic attack pretty much, like waiting, and then going in and sitting there, and I had a hood on, like it was awful. Like, I had a hoodie on, the whole lot. It was just, and went in, and she was like, "So, what can we do for you today?" And I just burst out in tears. That was it, and it was mad. It was absolutely like mad that it had built up to that much, and then, but it was such a release.
yeah.
Such a release, and that's why I always say, it doesn't have to be a doctor. It doesn't have to be, it is just to talk to someone.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
such a help. Such a help. I cannot explain how much it helps.
It is something I'm definitely trying to work on and be more open with people about. And
Yeah.
people are pretty good. They're quite patient with me. And I do have friends as well. Like when I don't feel like I can stream, they'll be like, "Would you want to get on some games? We don't have to talk about anything if you want to.
Yeah.
We can, but otherwise we'll just chill and play." So it's nice. I do have a really good support system. But
That's
yeah,
good. That's really
it's
good.
still something I've got to work on quite a lot.
Yeah, but I mean, look at this.
Yeah, this is brave for me.
This is amazing. Like, honestly, though, this is amazing. This is what I really, truly love about doing this, and how people are so brave and coming on and chatting, because it is. It's so good. Like, and we don't know each other.
No.
Totally do not. Literally, do not. We spoke for the first time yesterday, and we do not know each other. And yeah, we've talked about everything. And it's so brave that you were happy enough and you want to talk about this and you want to spread awareness, and that is, even if you feel like, you're not wasting anyone's time. So even if you felt like you wanted to go, I mean, if you're in a good place at the moment, it doesn't matter. You don't have to go, but if you ever get to a stage that you feel that, maybe I should go and talk to someone, then, you've started the ball rolling already without you even knowing.
Yeah, no, thank you for inviting me to do this as well.
Honestly, it's been more than a pleasure. Like, it really has. And I want to get more people on here, and I'd love talking to people that I've never spoke to before as well, because it always fascinates. And I think I said this to you yesterday, that I'm actually quite a nosy person in a nice way. I like to know why people do things, and if something's happening, why and what and when. And I kind of love it, and I love listening to people's stories. I love it. So yeah, for you, as I say, for you to come on, it's been ace.
Thank you.
I always kind of say the last thing is have you got any last things to say, or?
Yeah, I think I've got something in relation to like sort of people that might want to start streaming and are anxious about
Mhm.
going for it. I would say my advice to anybody wanting to do that is to go for it. If you're not comfortable like showing your face, you don't have to have a camera. Do
Yeah.
get a microphone so you can talk to people. I think that makes a big difference
Hmm.
with being able to speak to people. Um, I most content creators I know, they have a like you do, like a lot of people do like structure, and they will have a schedule going live at a certain time. That doesn't work for me because that makes me anxious
Yeah.
to know that I have to go live at a certain time, and I get very worried that I'll let people down if I don't want to do it, if I'm not feeling up to it that day. So I kind of just go day by day, like see how I feel, and if I want to go live, I go live. And people that care about you, they're going to come by. They're not going to be like, oh well, I'm only going to watch them at this time. Like,
Yeah.
they'll people do come by. They are there for you. So just don't worry about numbers either. Like, it takes a long time to build
Oh
up a
my god, yeah,
community
it
and
does.
connections. Um, and yeah, just yeah, that's what I'd say. I'd say just go for it and do what's right for you, what feels comfortable for you. I know a lot of people feel like they have to be pigeonholed by playing one particular game, and they're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I stream another game and I lose followers." So what? Like, if they don't want to be there for you all the time, then they're probably not followers you need. Do what's comfortable for you, and then people will start to see you enjoying it. They'll see you having fun, and they'll want to be there. So yeah, that would be my advice for anyone wanting to do it.
That is amazing, because it's very true. And there's a lot of things on social media, and I will bring up social media, like there's a lot of things on social media where they're saying, if you want to be a streamer, you have to do this, have to. And at the moment, loads of people are pushing, saying you have to go on these websites and see what games are not big but have got big numbers, and play them and constantly play them. And I'm like, why would I want to go and play a game that I'm not going to enjoy? Like, what
I
is
think
the point?
I think people can see if you're not enjoying something. Like,
100%.
they don't want to watch that. They want to see you having fun, and
Yeah.
obviously, play if you're playing something you do really love. That people are going to see that, and they're going to like that. And
Yeah, because I watch people. Obviously, I watch people for the games that I like to watch being
yeah,
played. I do, but
yeah,
after a while, you get to know these people, and whatever they play, I don't care. I will be in some of their streams because they are brilliant, in my opinion. They're like funny, like they talk about the things that I want to listen to, like they chat to chat, like they just, and it's amazing, and I love that. And yeah, you're exactly right. Just play what you want to play, do what you want to do, and yeah, and also try and be yourself.
yeah,
Like,
definitely.
I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some people that actually have done fantastic by being a character, like on streams,
Yeah,
and that's their niche. But I think to start off with, just be yourself and enjoy it, and
yeah.
play
And
with
make
people.
genuine
And oh,
connections as well. Don't be
yes,
like, oh, I need to go into the biggest streamers and like befriend them. Like, no, just meet people and get to know
yes.
everyone, and Like I mean, I'm terrible. Like there aren't many big streamers that I'll watch because I feel like I want to be there supporting people that don't have as many people to talk to, and like
Yeah,
you get some really good friendships that way as well.
definitely.
Um, and I
Definitely.
think it's important, like, because some people want to rush it. They're like, I want to be a partner, and I think it's just enjoy the journey. Don't try and be like, I haven't hit this
Yeah,
milestone yet that I wanted to. Just let it all happen. It will happen when it's supposed to happen. So
exactly. 100%. I agree with that massively. And yeah,
I think people
w-
put a lot of pressure on themselves sometimes.
yeah, they really do. Also, as well, like it again, it's that thing, isn't it? Don't always, if you look at someone and you think they've got like I loads of, and I do it as well. I've got my equipment at the bottom of what I use, and don't ever look at that and think, oh my god, I need all of that.
Yeah.
You know,
I have chest of drawers here with my TV on and a laptop and a rocking chair. I'm sat in a rocking chair. I don't have a good stream setup at all, but it's fine. It works for me. So
exactly. It works for you. You have fun, and that's it. You know, that is it. And honestly, this is it. And I think you are bang on right. If people do want to start streaming, and you know, I'll put obviously Looney's links in everything, like all the comments and description. So if you do want to go and you know see her live and chat to her and all that type of stuff, like everything will be there. And yeah, and again with the whole mental health kind of side, like the same with my community or our community, which is called It's Only Pixels. You know, we named it that because it is only pixels, and you shouldn't ever get mad at losing them.
I love that.
So it actually came out of one of the podcasts. I think the very first podcast. It
Yeah.
came out of me and the guy who actually now we're kind of co-owners. There's a group of 6 of us, and we were chatting away, and we were talking about a game, and someone had mentioned something to me ages ago and said, "Oh, for God's sake, it's only pixels." And I said it to him, and he was like, "That's our Discord name," and I was like,
Only
"Okay,
pixels at the end
done."
of the day.
That was it, and that's it. So, but it is that, and it's very kind of, you know, and it sounds very similar to Looney's community. It's very chilled out. We have a mental health section to talk about. We have like meme sections, like just whatever you can just chill out. And I will, as I say, I'll link all Looney's Discord and all that in there as well. So if you ever want to go and talk to her about anything, then I'm sure she'll be open to chat to you, and the same with us. So it's been awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Honestly, it's been absolutely awesome, and it always makes me laugh when people say I'm not going to be able to speak for nearly an hour or whatever, and we're 52 minutes in. So
I get incredibly anxious just about phone calls even with people I know. So yeah, like it is big for me.
awesome.
But it's weird because like I can talk to people like when I've got my game controller in my hands and my headset on,
Yeah,
I can talk to people so much easier. But it's ridiculous. But yeah, I
bizarre,
do get
isn't it?
very nervous. But I'm glad I did it, and I'm glad you invited me, and thank you for having me.
No problem at all. That is awesome. So yes, so I'm just going to sign off, and I'll come and speak to you in a bit. So, but thank you honestly so much. It has been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Awesome, guys. That was amazing. Like actually amazing, and I love this, and it is so good that we can kind of meet people, total random, and still have such an amazing kind of, conversation, and it kind of shows you that we have both struggled in our lives with mental health and anxiety and all that kind of stuff, but we can kind of still come together and talk about it. And this is always what I say: you are never alone. You're never. People have gone through issues, and there are similarities, even though at one point it doesn't seem like it's ever going to end, and it does, and things do get better, and you can talk. And I'm one of them. I think I will probably have my mental health issues forever, but it's how I deal with them, and it just is. And yeah, meeting people like Looney's just is great, because again, you can just chat and talk about life and talk about everything. So guys, thank you as always for watching, for listening, wherever you are. As I always mention at the end, I have at the very bottom of the screen here talking about we have Mind, Calm and Samaritans, all UK numbers. Obviously there are versions of this here obviously all around the world. These are the UK ones, and again, if you don't want to talk to your friends or family, ring these. They literally will not care if you're crying, shouting, whatever. They're there to listen and help. And even if you ring the number 20 times and never literally let them answer, and that 21st time you get to speak to someone, then you're always doing something good. So cool. as always, thank you so much for watching, listening. Loony, thank you so much again. And yeah, without further ado, look after yourselves, look after your own mental health, and we'll see you next time.